to another episode of mine where I get you tips from the best people around the world. So, today I'm gonna introduce you to one of the best teachers from South America. Hey, how are you, dude?
Hello, how are you, man? Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me here.
It's pleasure having you on the show. I wanted to have you on the show for a very long time. For some reason, I could not bring you because you are very busy buddy, I must say. You teach a lot of, I mean, lots of students every day, so you don't have much time to, get interviewed. Anyway,
Thank.
so how's everything in your country?
Everything is going okay. It's been raining quite a lot, but it's okay.
It doesn't rain here in this season. It's winter, although the temperature drops to 14, 15, but it's always in plus. The plus point
Okay.
is it is always in plus.
All right.
So since we both are English teachers, and this podcast, this interview is also about how to improve the languages, specifically the English language. So I'm gonna ask you a series of questions given to me by my viewers, right? So are you ready to answer to those questions? I'm really
Okay, let's go.
excited.
Let's get started.
So my first question is, since you have been teaching English for a very long time, how do you feel? Do you feel, I mean, how do you find it to speak now? Do you find it normal to speak, or do you still find it difficult to speak?
Well, right now, of course, I feel much more comfortable than in the past when I started. Um, when teaching, I feel really comfortable. I don't have like hesitations at the time of explaining things related to grammar, pronunciation, phonetics and phonology, or any other issue related to the English language. But
Mhm.
of course, in the at the beginning of my learning process, I was like constantly struggling to find out the right words to express myself. But
Mhm.
now I don't have that kind of issues. Sometimes there are things that I want to say, and maybe the vocabulary doesn't come that fast.
Yeah.
But I try to find in my in my files, in my brain files, the words that I would like to say. And when that doesn't happen, I just try to look for synonyms, and later on, um, I look for the words that I want to say in my native language, and then I translate it into the English language so I can use them
Cool.
next time, of course.
As an English teacher, how do you speak? Do you speak formally or informally?
Hmm.
Most of
As
the
an Yeah, as an English teacher, I try to speak formally because in a class environment, of course, you have to stick to um, the formal pattern.
Mhm.
But when I'm talking to my friends, I
Mhm.
sometimes speak casual,
Mhm.
the casual way. But yeah, just like that.
Oh, great. So far, so good. I have, like I said to you, I have a series of questions that I'm going to ask you. So I have
Yes.
so many questions to ask you. So here comes the another question, which is, um, do you think pronunciation matters?
Pronunciation methods. Yes, there are techniques that you can try with your students. To do that, you need to go to the International Phonetic System of English, so you can get to know the symbols and the sound that each symbol makes. And then with those symbols, of course, you teach pronunciation techniques. For example, when you say words such as "thank you," so it would be the sound,
Oh,
like an Spanish
placement.
Z. But in Spanish it doesn't sound Z, but for example, there is a Spanish word that is zapato. So people from Spain would say zapato. That means shoe or shoes in Spanish, in English, I'm sorry.
Yeah, as far as I am aware of tongue placement and the pronunciation accent, uh, you need to be good at tongue placement. You need to know where to put your tongue in order to pronounce a word correctly.
Absolutely. You have to be aware of the organs of speech that are involved in the pronunciation of that sound. So once you know that, you teach the student how to make it properly. And of course, it doesn't happen, or excuse me, it doesn't go right the first time. So after trying and trying and trying, you become better. So people do not reach success the first day.
You
So you have
know,
to try hard.
I teach so many students from my country, from other countries, neighboring countries, I mean, so they always have a question, so do I. They ask me, sir, is pronunciation is as important as conveying a right message?
Oh, okay. I believe that the message and the pronunciation are both important. However, um, yeah, I mean, I think that both are relevant because if you do not pronounce the words properly, I mean, the message can be misunderstood on the way. So
Yes.
both are right. The message and the pronunciation is important. You may have some mispronunciation mistakes, and still the message could get through.
Yeah.
However, that would create certain kind of dark environment for the listener because it's trying to decode the message under words that are not being properly pronounced. And then, yes, I do think that pronunciation is key to have a very good communication.
As an individual, I have also this question. There are so many things in order to improve, in order to be perfect at the language that you are aiming to acquire. I have been learning and trying to improve every day and also have been teaching the same language. However, I feel there are certain things that we have to focus when speaking. Intonation, the right pronunciation of words, and the sentence structures. So, up to what extent do you think, how we should improve these things?
Well, I think that you have to try to improve every single aspect of the English language. So you have to be focused on grammar, even though people don't like it. Many people, I have met a lot of people who don't like grammar, but to me, it's essential to learn grammar. However, there are a lot of videos and promoters out there telling you that you can learn English without grammar. I believe that it would be harder to get a good English level if you don't study grammar because grammar tells you how the words are structured within a sentence, affirmative, negative, or interrogative. And without that, you will be learning English just by listening. So that means that you may have mistakes on the way
Yeah.
because not necessarily because you're learning from someone who speaks English is, I mean, that person has a correct English. So grammar is the one that is going to tell you how to structure the words properly and where they are placed in a sentence. That's number one, in my opinion. Number two, vocabulary. You have to try to enrich your vocabulary according to the kind of things that you would like to express, the needs that you have for communicating with people. So maybe someone who is learning business English would have to learn most of his or her vocabulary related to the area or environment where he or she is involved. Um, Learning street language wouldn't be like that useful in that context. So the other aspect would be probably pronunciation. Um, Achieving a perfect pronunciation is quite hard and it takes long. It's not fast. It's not a fast process. But I believe that learning the basis of phonetics and phonology and trying to respect the phonetic of the language, I think that with those tools you can achieve a decent pronunciation.
According to me, if you go for pronunciation, to perfect pronunciation, in that time, the time you take to improve, you may learn two languages.
Exactly.
It takes too much of time.
It does.
Like you
Yes, it,
mentioned, a grammar is important as other parts of the language. Some people, some people ignore or underestimate the importance of grammar. They think we can learn how to speak English without learning grammar, without having to learn grammar. I think it's the biggest mistake one does while learning the language. We should be equally focused uh, on grammar when learning a language, be it English, be it any language in the world. How true I am on this point.
sorry, what was that? How to?
I mean, how true I am on this point. Do you think
Oh, okay.
grammar is equally important?
Okay. Yeah. How to motivate students to forget about those misconceptions related to grammar.
Mhm.
In my classes, I try to aim grammar in the following way. Every single grammar structure, for example, tenses, they have a purpose, a communicative purpose, you know. Uh, for example, every time you present, you have to talk about, or you're required to talk about um, habits, routines, and facts. So those are the main uses of the simple present. Of course, simple present also serves for talking about scheduled future activities. So once you have a communicative purpose, so the student is aware of the use of that particular grammar structure. So if you would like to talk about what you do every single day or what you normally do, so that's a time to use simple present and not present progressive or any other tense. So once the student is aware about the use and what kind of things he or she can communicate through that structure, I think you make it more interesting. It's much more than learning grammar as a formula, like subject, verb, and complement. So I believe that that's the best way to motivate students to learn grammar, that they're not going to learn a bunch of structures or math formulas, but they're going to dare themselves to produce language, real language with real intentions.
So informative. It
Thank you.
lightened me a lot. Thank you so much for your time and sharing valuable informations, pieces of information on how people can improve their communication skills and the language they are aiming to improve. Since
My
we have
pleasure.
very limited time, we cannot make a much longer video because people don't like to watch longer videos. So,
It's true.
since, before we finish this interview, I would like to ask you five pieces of advice on how one can acquire the language at the earliest.
Five advices, I'm sorry.
Five pieces of advice to be able to acquire the language, any target
Oh,
language at the earliest.
yeah, I'm so sorry. It was my internet connection.
It's okay.
Yes. So those five pieces of advice would be being constant. That's number one.
Mhm.
Being passionate about the language that you want to learn, no matter if it's English, German, or any other. You have to be passionate.
Mhm.
Number three, you have to have a real purpose.
Yeah, purpose important.
Because if you don't have a purpose, so then on the way, once motivation is gone, so you would quit the learning process.
Mhm.
Number four, you have to like it.
Yeah, I think
And
make it your hobby.
number five, make it interesting for yourself. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no other person who can do something for you. You can have the best teachers and the best English material, for example,
Mhm.
to learn the language. But if you don't do your part, nothing is going to matter. I mean, you won't achieve your goal, because after class, the person who needs to learn the new vocabulary and use the new structures
Mhm.
is the student. So
Yeah.
you can be provided with everything around you to have the best environment and the best English material, but if you don't do your part, it would be useless.
Yeah.
Those
Sure.
are my 5 recommendations.
Yeah. I think the best and the the best advice is so far on the
Thank you.
internet. I would like to add some more pieces of advice to what you have just mentioned. I think if you start thinking in English, that will also benefit the learner. I mean visualization. If you visualize what people normally do, they try to translate. They should quit translating and start thinking, I mean visualizing in the language, in the target language. And second, they should also read something or other. It could be any book, it could be a newspaper of English, and they should also make it a habit of them. They should do it as it is a part of their life.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. That's it. I would like to have you some other time as well on my show. I mean, on the interview, people are gonna have so much benefit out of this video. So thank you so much for your time. Bye bye.